Welcome back, everybody. I got Aaron Krall here, SaaS onboarding ninja guru, whatever you want to call it. This is the guy I go to all the time. Like, hey, is this a good idea? Is this crazy? Usually it's on the crazy boat. But okay, today we're going to talk about onboarding for different types of SaaS models: free trials, freemium, paid upfront, and enterprise. Obviously, very different, Aaron, business models. Do you think they have any commonality? Is there anything that like should remain the same, or is it always different?
Yeah. Oh, totally. You know, the main commonality between all of these is your customer has to have success in your product. It's just the way that they enter the tool is going to be a little bit different. And each of these models has a very unique way of working. You can't, like, each one is very specific. Freemium is totally different than paid up front or credit card first. But this whole goal is like, you want to have your customers have some success, because either the goal is to have them not cancel if they're putting in a credit card first, or to have them sign up. So it's to get them to have success and really build the value of the tool and show that you can solve their problem. You remember, you're selling a solution. And if your customer doesn't see that you can solve their problem, it doesn't matter like what the price is or how you have your model set up, they're not going to pay. So if you figure that out and you know what it is that your customers want during that period of time, and they see it and they get it, then you're good.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense. So let's talk about free trials, onboarding for free trials. How would you normally do this? So obviously,
Cool.
Low friction point up front, right?
Yeah,
Anybody
really low
can sign
friction
up.
point. Right.
A lot more free trials.
Yeah, a
And
lot
people
more free
dropping off.
trials.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a lot more people that aren't like targeted. So you're going to have people that are signing up that just don't know. I mean, I have, clients that are like, yeah, we've talked to our customers and they're like, I don't know why I signed up for this product. I just signed up for it. So really low friction. So what you want to do, especially during this, is you don't really need to wait with like paid upfront and credit card first. Like, you really need to show the value of the tool first. Like, you need to sell a ton and be really specific. With the free trial, you just want to, because it's low friction, you want to say, here's the problem we solve, and then get them into the tool. And then during that free trial period, however long that trial period is, and really the trial period should be long enough so that they can have success with the tool. Like, I know I'm working with a company right now, and their trial period is 14 days, but it takes like 7 days for the data to get into the tool. Like, so make sure that your trial period is long enough for them to have success, and have enough resources in place that help your users get to the moment that they want to get to, whatever success moment that is or whatever outcome, without involving like your salespeople or support.
Yeah.
Because
so hold on, I want to just like emphasize on that. That's really critical. So you want to get people to the aha moment as quickly as possible without involving sales. So that's really like the first user experience, the second user experience, your product on in-app onboarding, your emails, all, and like getting them to do like the one or two things. To me, what you said is getting them to use the product, right? And get that aha moment without sales. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's great. And then and once they get to that moment and they sign up, then you can kind of like, then we have like a retention process, which is like, all right, what are the tools that they haven't, what are the part of your tool that they haven't experienced yet, and get them to use that, and so you can kind of front load the support a little bit, or because you're using trigger-based emails, that if they become a paid customer and 7 days later they haven't tried this release feature that's like super important for them to have continued success, send them an email. Says, hey, we noticed you haven't connected this yet. Did you know it's included with your product? And here's what it's going to do for you. And it's easy to set up. Here's how to do it. So that kind of like, for the free trial model, because it's low friction, you want to, and you're not, you can't possibly provide support for 10,000 free users, a month or whatever. Make it easy for them to get to that moment, and then help them have success. And then after they subscribe, continue to build value in the tool and make sure that they're getting the most out of the tool.
Love it. It makes complete sense when you think about it that way, right? Sometimes you just kind of end up not going about it that way. So
yeah.
Any other parts for free trials? Anything else you kind of think is important?
You mean like during,
Sure.
getting the sign up or getting
Yeah,
them to
for
convert for the
let's talk about
onboarding?
getting them to convert, right? I think that's something
Yeah.
that that's the next biggest friction point after people use the product. They use the
Yeah.
aha, they got the aha moment, they use more of your product, and then what?
Well, because like it's a free trial, they don't have a lot of invested
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
into a free trial. Like it all they needed to give was their email, maybe their name. And so
Mm-hmm.
you really need to um we really need to like build up the pain and get them motivated to solve their specific problem because they're not invested in it with any sort of like monetary. They may have a little bit of time invested, but like it's so easy to sign up for something for free, and then if you don't figure it out in like 10 seconds, like you just move on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if because they're not invested, we have to like build the value of the product and then also hit on the pain points, and that's where the onboarding emails come in. Is we can really start to like develop and make it clear what problem they're trying to escape and what their life is going to be like when they have the tool in their hands. Because once they understand that and they have this vision of what their life is going to be like, they have more motivation. They're invested because they know that you can solve their problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're more motivated to go back to the tool and figure things out and try it out, and then convert. So that would be like the main thing for child to paid is making sure that they have something invested by showing them you can solve their problem.
Love it. So let's talk about freemium next. So obviously freemium is still similar to free trial, right? Like there's still no friction, there's still
Yeah.
low friction up front, but now you have gates on your product maybe, or like the product is now potentially selling. So how do you do freemium onboarding for premium products?
Freemium is kind of one of those models that is of kind of like a vanity model. And what I mean by that is uh, you can easily say, oh, we have 10,000 members using our product, but they're like all freemium and nobody's actually using the product. So if you do a freemium model, there's a few things you have to keep in mind. One is there's absolutely no investment on their end to start using the tool, except for the fact that hopefully it solves their problem. It does it really quickly. And so there's two things. One with the freemium, and I always recommend this. I call it the drug dealer method. So, when you're dealing drugs,
it's always a good conversation when we talk
yeah.
about drugs.
when you're dealing drugs, man, you got to give the best stuff to your customers first to get them hooked, right? Like you don't give them the crappy stuff or give them just like a part of it. And the freemium model, like you want to give out your best stuff to your customers so they get hooked on your product, but limit it in either time, which usually freemium is not a time. Usually it's either quantity of how many times you can use it. So I remember I was using a tool called Workflowy, which I absolutely love. Workflowy, freemium model, but they limit you to like 100 data points or something. And I don't know what that means. All I know is I got to the point where I was using the tool and I couldn't use it anymore because I didn't have enough data points. And it said, hey, if you'd like to continue using, time to sign up. And by that time, like I'd had enough value of the product. Like I knew what I wanted to use it for. I'd been using it. They had a lot of really good education. So they showed me, here's all the things you can do with Workflowy. And so they didn't limit me. Like one of the big mistakes I see is people hiding your best features in like the high top tier plans. And in the freemium model, like you only get like one or two things, and you can't even get value in the product on the freemium side. Like I was working with a client, a booking tool, and their freemium model, the whole thing about their product was that you can accept payments and book at the same time. Like that was their whole thing. Now Calendly has this now, but before they didn't have it. And the freemium model, like you can't book and pay. Like you can't even experience the main value of the product. Like you should have a minimum of maximum 2 paid bookings a month on the freemium model, right? Because once you get that paid booking and you realize, whoa, this is awesome, then you're so much more likely to upgrade than if you just got some random features that aren't really going to get you to that magical moment in the product. So with the freemium, give them your best stuff, limit it in some way, make sure they get hooked, and then once they get hooked, they'll upgrade. Like naturally they should upgrade. And then during that time, the onboarding process is more of like educating them on what the tool can be used for to get them to use it more.
Yep. Yeah. So very similar to like the free trial onboarding process, except now in the product, it's doing some of the legwork to
Yeah, exactly.
sell them. And yeah, it's a really good point of like having a high enough gate, right? Like get them used to the good stuff. I think a good example of this is HubSpot, right? Like they have so many free tools. They have their CRM is free, right? So it's not the best CRM in the world. You want to pay for something, go pay for it, right? Like there's specialty CRMs that are probably much, much better. Their Salesforce would be like at another level, but HubSpot will get you on the CRM, and then they'll sell you when you want to go use this one functionality after everything's in your CRM. You're not going to leave it. You're just going to pay.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think get everybody hooked, right? Like once I use it, I mean, I don't use HubSpot CRM, but like from what I've been told and from kind of trialing this thing, I'm like, damn, once I'm hooked, I'm just going to stick on the platform. Then I'm going to be like, okay, I want to get data back in the CRM way better. So then I'm going to use like their other stuff, right? So like that's how you get in their ecosystem, right? And so the ecosystem play. Exactly. All right, cool. And let's talk about paid up front. So no free trial. You have to whip out your credit card and pay some money.
Yeah.
How does onboarding differ? Like what changes here?
Well, so this is great. Mailshake is like this now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a few things that you need to do. One is you really need build value up front in the tool. You need to really blow people away because no one's going to pull out their credit card and sign up for something unless they really feel like it's going to solve their problem. With the free trial and freemium, you can kind of get away with like, hey, we can do this for you. And then they can go and try it. And then they can see that it can solve their problem for them. And then they upgrade. With credit card first, having them putting money down, it's and a lot of people start doing this with this model and they don't get enough customers signing up. I always suggest doing some kind of like free trial initially to understand your customers and then move to like a credit card first model. Because then what you're doing is you're only getting qualified people, which is great. But unless you know who your customer is, I wouldn't ask for credit card first, especially if you're just starting out. But anyways, that's like a side note. But once the credit card first really is reducing friction. So let them know. And I love how Mailshake does this too. If you haven't signed up for Mailshake yet, you should. But what you guys do is you have this thing, and it's pretty much says, yeah, we charge you up front. Like we're going to charge you some money up front, but that's because we want to deliver the best support we can during your free trial because we love doing it. If for some reason you don't love it in the first 30 days, just let us know. And you guys even add this little phrase at the end. We'll just ask you why you cancel. We just want to figure out why you canceled, why it wasn't a good fit. That reduces a lot of that friction and objections. And then when they get in, the idea is because they paid up front, they are much more motivated to get it to work. Like they don't need to have this really handhold onboarding process. As long as the tool is easy to use and you make it really simple what the process is. Every time I use Mailshake, I'm like, man, it's so easy to use. I don't even need like an onboarding process.
Thank you.
You upload the list. What's your email? When are you going to send it? Boom. And so once somebody puts in their credit card and goes through that process and they start sending out emails because the tool is easy to use, that's it. Like, the next thing you want to do is just make sure that they're having success with the product. So you identify success triggers in the app. If they put in their credit card and they haven't sent out emails yet, you can be like, hey, it's Sujan or whoever from the Mailshake team. Just curious. I know you signed up, haven't tried it yet. What's going on? Then you can put more resources in getting them to stick around and having conversations with them because they're obviously more valuable if they put in their credit card. So it's a lot more front loaded on the credit card first. You're getting customers that are motivated. Make sure they have success quickly. And then if they're not having success, put in the resources to make sure they're having success. You can be a little bit more one-on-one at that point.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I think you kind of hit the nail there is that it's all about the motivation. And once free trials and freemium was all about giving them motivation and being helpful to give them that motivation to go do something. With the paid up front, they've got the motivation. They put their money where their mouth is. Now it's giving them the tools and education and information, which may be the same exact thing, but it's how that person interprets it, right? So it's like less convincing on the what and the why, and that they want to know a little bit more about the how. Yeah, cool, awesome. All right, so you kind of like blew through that one. Let's talk about enterprise, because that's great. And enterprise, I think, is a whole other beast. How do you do enterprise?
Yeah, so I don't work a lot with like solely enterprise, but what we do work with is companies who have a free trial and then they have an enterprise level product. So typically what happens is your customer will come to your website and they'll be at a certain stage of awareness. Like they'll either be really aware of your product and they're going to want to sign up for an enterprise demo. And I'm not going to go into that. If you're doing enterprise right now and you're selling enterprise, it's just, it's the enterprise process. If they're signing up, if they come to your site and they sign up for a free trial and they're an enterprise level client, there's a few things. One is you want to identify who the enterprise level clients are right away. So segment them when they sign up for a free trial, right? So if they say, oh yeah, we have 50 to 100 employees, right away, get them to your sales team. Because that's probably an enterprise level client. You don't want to treat them the same as someone with 1 or 2 employees, right? So segment them out first and get triggers set up so that they get connected with the right person. And then second, once an enterprise lead gets signed up and they're actually using the tool, the same thing, you should have triggers in the app to make sure that they're using the product and having success. And even if it's a salesperson who's logging into the tool every couple of days or week, whatever, during the first few months to make sure that they've done the things that they need to do to have the success. Even if they have to do that, that's cool. I mean, at an enterprise level sale, you can put a little bit more manpower behind trying to make sure that your customer is getting to the outcome that they want. They haven't done something to let a salesperson know, hey, we noticed you haven't done this yet. When we talked on our call, this was really important to you. Just curious if you need some help. Let's get on a call and figure it out. Let's work on it together. So it's a little bit more hands-on approach, I would suggest. But you can still have kind of like some emails going out to educate the user. Just make sure that it's coordinated with your salesperson. You're not sending out emails that the salesperson just went over. So it's a little bit more kind of a mix of hands-on and half off. But that's what I would suggest for enterprise, getting them onboarded.
Yeah, I think it's really, really valuable there. I think it's the same cadence. You just have to mix in a person who's going to say stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so you're mixing in a human being, and then you also have onboarding on top of it. And so you want to leave enough gaps in your automation so that a person can have enough to say. I've also done it where the onboarding is all manual, right? Like when they talk, like it's still like a follow-up sequence, but so it's still an onboarding sequence, but it's more of a follow-up sequence from that person originating the initial contact. So it still is like scripts and content. That's a pretty canned response or, one-to-many approach, but it's now that salesperson manually doing that. And I think that's really important because then you can count on you can adjust the buying cycle and the copy. So now what I've done is, as a marketer, I give the salesperson a lot of scripts and content that they can choose where to use and when to send it, so that they can adjust it based off of, like, let's say I'm talking to a nonprofit, an educational institute, and a small startup, or like an enterprise like Microsoft. Now, Microsoft may move 6 months, maybe the educational, maybe 18 months, the nonprofit's like, I want to do it tomorrow, give me a discount, right? So different time frames, also different cadences and whatnot. But really good stuff. Any other things you want to add to this?
I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. For enterprise, obviously a lot of that onboarding process is usually going to take place with the SDR or whoever's the salesperson is, right? So there's not a lot that can go wrong during that onboarding process, especially if they're sending you data and you get them set up. The real thing is just making sure that they're using the tool. And by that time, and with enterprise, you're taking payment upfront. There's a lot of motivation. So it's just a matter of them making sure they have success. So, but with the other models, yeah, I think that's one other thing that I would say is test different models. Like if you're not having a paid upfront, try out a $1 trial for 14 days. Just see what, we have clients that have just, all they did was they changed from a free trial to a $1 upfront trial, because it increases the value of the product now, because the perceived value of the product is now, oh man, like, they're asking for $1. Like I need to be invested in this, and their conversions went up, like they didn't change anything, but just adding a $1 trial. So experiment with this stuff. Like don't, the only one that I would be leery about is freemium, because it's really difficult to monetize freemium. But try credit card first, no payments for 14 days. Try $1 trial, try, free trial, try different models and just test them and see which works. And you'll be really surprised at just how by changing the model up, you can see an increase in revenue, not conversions, because your conversions could go up, but so could your revenue could stay the same or go down. I'm talking about like focus on revenue, not necessarily conversions, because that's the real metric you should be checking. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. So thanks, Aaron, for joining. Look, if you guys have any questions, I probably should have said this in other videos, but leave a comment below. We'll make sure we answer all of them. And definitely I look forward to seeing everybody implement a lot of the things we talked about, and hopefully not making those mistakes that we talked about in that first video. Aaron, where can people find you if they want to work with you, contact you, or bother you, stalk you?
Yeah, dude, just first join SaaS Growth Hacks on Facebook. I'm always there. You can send me a private message on Facebook. And I have a bunch of free resources just at aaronkrall.io. Just look for Aaron Krall SaaS online, and you'll find my stuff, and there's just a bunch of free resources and guides that'll help you out too. So
awesome. Thanks again, Aaron.
Cool, man.
And we'll chat soon.